everyone. Thank you so much for your presence. I'm so glad that you are here with us today for this particular podcast. I want to start off with taking all of you all the way to Australia. And of course, if you're in Australia, when you are viewing this, when you're listening to this particular podcast, then of course for you it's in the here and now, quite literally in the sense, in the physical sense. But for those of us who are outside, let's go all the way there. And I want to talk about the Australian jewel beetle. The Australian jewel beetle, the female of this particular species, is bigger than the male and does not fly. And the mating occurs on the ground. The female is shiny and is brown, a particular shade of brown, and dimpled. So the male of the species goes out in search of a hot female in order to mate. And he's flying all over the place. And the moment he sights one, he alights and the mating occurs. Now, there's other species in which the male of the species uses his brain to look for beer because he loves beer. And the brand that he loves, the comes in a packaging of a beer bottle. So he drinks and he throws the empty bottle in the outback where you have cans and other things. And amongst, of course, all this are the beer bottles. Now, the beer bottles have a particular shade of brown and are shiny, just like the female of the African jewel beetle, that particular species. So the male of that species, the African jewel beetle, is out and about searching for a hot female to mate. And he sees this beer bottle, exactly the same shade of brown, shiny, the bigger the better. So he decides to go on that. And even though he's on it for a long time, he's still not able to make out that it's not the real deal. And not just he, but all the other males of the African jewel beetle are on these beer bottles in the outback, swarming there. It went on to such an extent that Australia had to recall this particular brand of beer, repackage them, and then send them back into the market because their jewel beetle would have gone extinct otherwise, as it was a classic case of the male leaving the female for the bottle. And you might say, oh, you know what, beetles are simple creatures, so maybe it happens to them. It doesn't happen in mammals. Well, then let me show you another picture. Out on your screen now, you'll see. So as you can see, even in mammals, it does happen. And what to talk about mammals in just this particular species, but even other species in terms of us humans, the kind of illusions that one can create in order to have a particular look that one wants for oneself. Let's not even get into that. So why am I talking about illusions, about Australian jewel beetles, and in this sense of on a channel, on a podcast, which is of a meditation place? Well, the reason I am talking about this is because, as you know, that one of the meditations that we are so passionate about is mindfulness. And in mindfulness, what do? We observe our thoughts, the sensations in our body, feelings that we have in our mind, our images in our mind, all that we just observe. We don't think, but we are observing, which means that, for example, if you are angry and I ask you, how angry are you? You say, every part of me is angry. And I say that 99% of you is angry and 1% is aware that you're angry. And that's how you know you are angry. That 1% awareness, just observing, that is what we do in mindfulness. So when we do that, as per our unique and beautiful path of least resistance, there comes a time where one realizes that just like every thought arises and falls, every feeling arises and falls. It differs in intensity, it differs in the type it is in. It could be anger, it could be fear, it could be worry, it could be concern, it could be happiness, it could be joy, it could be feeling of feeling empowered. They change. Also, sensations in your body in terms of its location can change, in terms of its intensity can change. As you notice that, as per one's own unique and beautiful path of least resistance, one recognizes, one realizes that it's all ever changing, impermanent, transient. And therefore, if there is some kind of a thought that one is feeling a particular feeling that one does not like and one wants to feel relief, then at that particular point of time, one can remind oneself that this too shall pass. It's all impermanent in that sense. And that is what gives one the relief that one is looking for. Maybe the situation still is the same, but within oneself one has found a certain amount of ease, and that can be life-giving in a situation where one wants to so badly have that particular relief, that relief that one wants. And from that place of relief, of course, with that strength that one gets, perhaps one can start looking at the situation in a different way, in a way which is more empowering. Maybe one can think of a solution rather than just the problem. But even if one doesn't go to that limit, just to feel the difference between pain and suffering. The pain will be there, but do we really have to suffer? As they say, that pain is the first arrow and suffering is the second arrow. The first arrow can be there from somebody else or some situation, but suffering is the arrow that we point towards ourselves, which we can look at it in a different way. So that is where this can help in terms of knowing that it's all impermanent. And what is that to do with illusions, like I started off? So there is a story which is often an example which is often given in a particular school of thought from one of the Eastern wisdom traditions. In India, there's a tradition called non-duality, in which there's a story, there's an example which is often taken of a rope and a snake. So say you are walking and you on the street and you see a house, and in the front yard you see a rope, and you think it's a snake, but and you get scared. But when you shine the light of awareness, when you go closer, you realize, oh, it's just a rope, nothing to be scared of. So some thought could be very uncomfortable, could be scary, or could make you feel anger. But as per your unique and beautiful path of least resistance, when you realize, oh, it's all ever changing, this too shall pass, and you can become your best friend, of course, in that situation. Then I also want to say out here is that sometimes it may be difficult. Something could be so overwhelming, so in your face, that it may be difficult for you to find some kind of relief. And at that particular point of time, I would suggest is you can always come back to the object of meditation that you have. If it's the breath, you can come back to the breath. If you want, you can take a break from the meditation and find something which is easy to feel relief through for you. Could be a walk next to nature, could be a warm bath, could be a relaxing massage, could be talking to a trustworthy, supportive friend. If nothing else, just perhaps just a nap, whatever works for you, in order to feel a little relief, just to feel that there's less suffering in that particular moment, because we can do at least that, the second arrow. And I also want to say that here I want to give a little technique, a little bit of understanding, a little bit of clarity on a particular technique that we do with regard to if breath is the object of meditation for you. So, in case breath is the object of meditation, then I want to say that what really happens is that when we are focusing on the breath, when you keep coming back, so say you're on the breath, and then after some time you remember something and you start thinking, you realize, oh, you're thinking something, you need to come back to the breath. So you come back. Then after some time you think about something else. Then again you would realize, oh, I'm thinking about something else. I need to come back to the object of my meditation. I need to concentrate on the breath because that's my object of meditation. You come back to the breath. Then again you come. As you keep coming back, what starts to happen is that in the moments that you're focused on the breath, you're not thinking your thoughts, because in a particular moment you can think only one thing. So either it's the thought or the object of your meditation. So either it is that thought or it is the breath. Say, for example, this is the breath, and you elongate the amount of time that you spend on the breath. So from 1 second to 2 seconds, to 3 seconds to 4 seconds. And as you go along on your journey, maybe next day, after some time, the next time you practice, as it goes on every day as you're practicing, It might just so happen that in the 15 minutes that you sit down for your sitting meditation, or the 5 minutes, or whatever minutes you sit down, it's only 2 seconds that you've had focusing on the breath. Fair enough. Next day it's zero. Third day it's 4 seconds. Then again it's back to zero. It's again it's gone back up. So like that. But as the amount of time, amount of moments that you spend on the breath increase, on the object of meditation increase, so that it's like, for example, you're pouring oil from a bottle. So it's like one stream of concentration, one stream of that oil. So once that starts to happen, in those moments that you have that one stream focused only on the breath, you're not thinking your thoughts. So thoughts are not there, only the breath is there. The thoughts blur, only the breath is there. And then there comes a time where the breath also begins to blur. And that is when you have transcended the breath and you've gone to the place of stillness deep within you, where you can now look at not just the breath, you're able to observe your breath, not the breath, but the sensations made by the breath in your body. You're able to observe those. And you're also able to observe your thoughts. You're aware of the thoughts in your mind. You are able to observe them. You're able to observe the feelings, the sensations, the images. So now you're observing. You're not thinking, but you're observing. And that is what we do in mindfulness, which is not the thought, not thinking the thought, but the observing of the thought, as we call it, silent witness or the witnessing presence, just witnessing them as they're coming, pure awareness in that sense, just coming. And that gives you that distance. And that distance is what is life giving. Yeah, it's like one of my favorite examples that say you are stuck in peak time traffic and you don't like it. It's frustrating for you. You feel frustrated because it's peak time traffic. You are left office to go back home in the evening, and you want to reach home. Dinner is waiting. Your family is waiting, and you want to be there. And you don't like it. But then after a few days, you decide to go for a hot air balloon ride, and you're in the hot air balloon up in the sky around the same time that you leave office for home, and it's dusk, and you suddenly see the headlights and they appear twinkling on the highway, the same highway that you take every day back from work to home. But now, just because of the distance, they seem so beautiful. It's not overwhelming at all, it's not frustrating at all. So the distance is what we are trying to get between the thoughts and our awareness of the thoughts. So that's something which you may like to think about. But of course, like if you're not able to do this, if the thoughts are too overwhelming, one can always take a break from the sitting meditation and come back to it whenever one feels ready to and one wants to. So that's it from our side about illusions and impermanence and the life-giving power of mindfulness. If you have any questions, feel free to write it to us at either you can write it to us at info@connectmeditation.com, or you can even write into me at sonal@connectmeditation.com. I would love to hear from you. Have a beautiful day or night, whichever part of the world you are in as you're viewing this, as you're listening to this. Lots of love and happiness to each one of you. Thank you so much once again for your presence.